lots of phrases have made their way into our language as if they were words. People say stuff that doesn't make sense, like a wet bird doesn't fly at night. Stuff that makes a ton of sense, like to make the best better. And stuff that you can tell has meaning, but can't quite figure out. Like the saying, never look a gift horse in the mouth. Hi, I'm Michelle Schroeder, and this is Large. And today we will be talking about how and why to look a gift horse in the mouth, or how to age a teeth using dentition. Based on a variety of factors, the teeth can give us an idea as to how old a horse is. The saying, never look a gift horse in the mouth, equates age with value, so it means to be appreciative of everything you're given. Although that is very important, if you are ever given a real-life gift horse, or anytime you're considering acquiring an equine, you should definitely look it in the mouth or figure out how old it is. Knowing what stage of life an animal is in is very important, as it affects the care and expectations of that animal in ways such as vet needs, nutritional needs, and training. A horse is typically born without any teeth, so this means that it will be completely reliant on its mare. However, the first teeth erupt very quickly, as we'll learn today that 8 is a popular number. The central incisors, which are these 4 teeth, appear at just 8 days old, quickly followed by all 12 premolars, which are these 6 teeth on either side, within the first 2 weeks of life. At this point in the animal's life, all the teeth are deciduous, meaning that they're temporary and later on will be replaced by permanent teeth. Deciduous teeth are lighter in color and smaller in size than their permanent counterparts, and can also be called caps or milk teeth. By 8 weeks old, the intermediate incisors, which are these 2 teeth on either side, erupt. In a young animal, the teeth are at a near 180-degree angle of incidence. The angle of incidence refers to how the teeth line up, top to bottom. So 180 degrees would be like this. We will see it shift as the horse ages. And at 8 months old, the corner incisors, which are the 2 teeth right before the interdental space on either side, erupt. Not much changes. The teeth continue to get bigger for a while. This is a 1-year-old mare. Take note of the color of her teeth. Her angle of incidence isn't quite 180 degrees, but is certainly steep. Her teeth are also quite small compared to the horses we'll see later today in the presentation. At 2.5 years old, the horse starts to shed its milk teeth. So don't worry if you see a loose tooth in your horse's mouth or if you've seen that it's lost a tooth in a stall or pasture. And be aware that horses can experience a little bit of teething pain, like humans, so that might explain some odd eating behaviors in a young animal. The first teeth to be replaced are the central incisors, and the second premolars, which are these teeth on either side. This is an example of a second premolar cap from a horse that was likely about the same size as Larch. Between 3 and 4 years old, the intermediate incisors and the third molars, which are these teeth, erupt. The third molars do not exist in deciduous form, which is why a foal only has 24 teeth, and a mature horse has at least 36. By 4 years old, the central incisors are in wear. This means that the angle of incidence has reduced to such that over time the shape will change due to being worn down as the horse chews in a side-to-side motion. This is a 3-year-old gelding. Take note of the shape of his teeth from the occlusal or overhead view. They're like a rounded rectangle. From the side view, we can tell he still has a very steep angle of incidence. His teeth are about as tall as they are wide. Compared to a 4-year-old gelding, there is already a significant change in the size of the teeth and the angle of incidence. I believe the only cap visible in the side view picture is his bottom corner incisor. The next teeth the horse grows in are its permanent corner incisors, and in males, the canines and wolf teeth, allowing for a horse to have a full mouth at age 5. A full mouth is a term used to refer to horses that have all of their permanent teeth. By 5 years old, the corner incisors are also in wear, quickly followed by the rest of the teeth in the mouth, but anything behind the interdental space isn't easily seen like the incisors, so normally the incisors are what you reference most when aging a horse. At 6 years old, cups appear. Cups are indentations on the occlusal or tops or bottom surface of the tooth due to wear. age 7, hooks appear. Hooks are sharp outgrowths of enamel, first found on the corner incisors, also due to wear. They appear at this age because as the angle of incidence decreases, the tooth isn't being as evenly worn down across the whole surface. Hooks are why it is important to get our horse loaded on a regular basis. This is a 7-year-old gelding. From the occlusal view, we can see that he still has the same rounded rectangular shape to his tooth, but his teeth are all full size. He may have a small hook on his upper corner incisor. At 8 years old, the cups begin to disappear, first from the corner incisors. At this time, you may want to reference the diagram. At 9 years old, the dental star appears. The dental star is this white spot near the front surface of the tooth. It first appears on the central and intermediate incisors. 10 years old marks the appearance of an important sign that will be used to age horses throughout their entire teenage years. This is the Galbig's groove. The Galbig's groove is a vertical indent on the front surface of the tooth. This is the Galbig's groove. It is especially obvious here on this tooth. At 10 years old, the incisors also begin to round, so they will no longer be the rectangular shape we've seen in our younger horses. This is a 10-year-old gelding. We can already see there's a bit of a change in the shape of his incisors. His angle of incidence has decreased from the 7-year-old geldings as well. His Galbig's groove is obvious on the intermediate and central incisors and is just starting on his corner incisors. At 11 years old, a horse has a smooth mouth, meaning all the cups have disappeared. This is an example of a smooth tooth. There's no obvious indentation. At 13 years old, enamel spots appear. Enamel spots are small, dark, round spots on the center of the occlusal surface of the tooth. They first appear on the incisors. This tooth has an enamel spot right here, and a few visible enamel spots on this tooth. This is a 13-year-old gelding. His Galbig's groove is definitely more obvious than the Galbig's groove we saw on the 10-year-old gelding. He doesn't yet have dental spots visible, but within the next year he certainly will. And his teeth continue to change from being rectangular to round. At 15 years old, all of the cups are gone, if there was any remaining from when the horse was supposed to reach a smooth mouth at 11. And the Galbig's groove is about halfway down the tooth. At 15 years old, the tooth won't be round or triangular yet. This is a good example of a tooth that's kind of in between shapes. At 17 years old, all of the teeth have become triangular, and the enamel spot will disappear. At 20 years old, the Galbig's groove reaches the occlusal surface, or is the whole length of the tooth. This tooth is from a horse that was definitely at least 20, because we can see the Galbig's groove is the whole length of the visible part of the tooth. At 20 years old, spaces may begin to appear between teeth, and the angle of incidence may have been reduced to less than 90 degrees, which would be like this, which is a huge difference than the 180 degrees we saw in our younger horses today. This is a 20-year-old mare. Because of her overbite, her angle of incidence might be a little misleading, but is certainly more on the acute side. Most of her incisors are a great example of what a triangular tooth would look like. She does, however, have enamel spots still, which most horses would outgrow by 17, but we can guess that because of her malocclusion, her teeth don't wear down the way most horses' teeth do. After 20 years old, there is no longer visible obvious milestones like there were throughout the teenage years. The more worn the teeth look, the older the horse is. In particular, spaces may continue to increase between teeth, and some people report that the Galbig's groove disappears from the front surface of the tooth by 30. This is a 23-year-old Galbig. His teeth in general just look older than the horse we've seen. spaces between his teeth. In the occlusal view, there aren't any obvious enamel spots or cups or anything. He does still have his galving screw. Not all horses outgrow that. Let's test your knowledge. Can you tell how old Larch is? You can either look at her or her pictures. I never knew Larch alive, but if I did, this was the same process I would use to evaluate how I should care for her. When aging a horse by teeth, the first thing we check for is what teeth are present. Larch appears to have a full mouth, so we can guess that Larch was at least 5. Although she's hard to line up without a flesh, her angle of incidence does seem to be more on the acute side. So we can guess that Larch was at least 7 years old. And like I said earlier, she does have a smooth mouth, so that leads me to believe that she was at least 11. I believe Larch lived to be about 15 years old, and these are the obvious signs I used. Her galvin screw is a little bit misleading in the pictures than on person, but it's a little bit more than halfway down her tooth. That would lead you to believe that she's older than 15, but because of her, the shape of her tooth, which is still very much so round, and the fact that her enamel spots are still very obvious, I do not think she was in her late teens. In conclusion, today we decided that although it is very important to be appreciative of everything you're given, proper care is the best gift you can give your animal friends. And knowing how old they are is how you determine that. You can use the same process we used on Larch to evaluate the teeth for visible signs to determine their age. Knowing that Larch is about 15, I would know that she probably has almost 10 more usable years on her, but in that time, her health and usability will greatly change. And you can find that out about any animal. There's no age range that doesn't have specific needs. There's no age range that doesn't have specific needs. Most people only think you need to take special care of foals or seniors, but that is not the case. These are my sources. If you'd like to learn more about aging your horse by teeth or evaluating their age, I definitely recommend checking them out. My favorite is Horse Marks by the American Youth Horse Council, and I found Horse Anatomy, a coloring atlas by Robert Kanar, especially helpful for this presentation. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you can apply this important information to the care of your animals, and if not, you at least enjoyed it and learned something new. If you would like to see any of the teeth up closer or would like me to point anything specific out on the pictures, please let me know. Are there any questions?
Why do they call it the dental star if it isn't shaped like a star?
The question was, why are they called the dental star if it's not shaped like a star? A lot of things in like animal anatomy and medicine and stuff don't make sense. Like the Galvin screw, probably named after somebody whose last name was Galvin, but I don't know. The dental star also, it's not very much shaped like a star, but I mean, I guess there's a little bit of an angle to it. They're probably like, we're running out of shapes, here we go.
Maybe because it shows up and then it goes away.
Could be.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
Dental divot.
so my question is, are there any conditions that horses live under or habits that horses may have that change, that like would give you a false impression of how old they are? And does it matter?
The question was, is there any difference is there any living behaviors that could change the presentation of the horse's teeth, and does it matter? There are actually several. So bad habits such as cribbing or wood chewing, where the horse is using their teeth somewhat irregularly, would also affect the wear pattern. I would assume speed it up. As well as if a horse with wolf teeth, the bit can interfere with that and eventually cause damage. Horses, you can also, there's some people who are honest, like to bishop their horse, which means that they file it down a certain way to take away from like some of the age-related signs to make the horse appear younger and, like we said, never look a gift horse in the mouth and more valuable. I also know a rescue horse who had all of her teeth pulled except for some molars in the back. She was a Percheron, and they estimated her to be between 20 and 30, but at that point, it was more based on her like gray hair and the divots above her eye and her sway back. But there are certain there's also medical conditions that would affect that too. But there are several things that would make the presentation of the teeth not normal. Like in the 20-year-old mare I showed her with very interesting incisor placement and extreme overbite. Like her teeth have never been normal and she needs to be floated the most. And she was once broke to drive, but the bit just didn't go well for her, so she's just an in-hand horse now.
Thank you.
Of course.
Why teeth? Why have you bought a horse recently? You felt like you needed to check their age, or you want to become a dentist? Like what's
So,
the reason?
the question was, why did I do this presentation? I did this presentation for a few reasons, because I do other knowledge contests, and gauging horses by teeth is just something I could never get down, so I was like, oh, I'll force myself to figure it out. Also, so ever since we got Larch, our school a few years ago, I wanted to figure out a presentation to do with her. By the way, I also am guessing her gender based on the absence of canine and wolf teeth. I don't actually know anything about her. And I felt like this was the easiest and most helpful presentation I could do with her. Because obviously, like, you could do like skull anatomy or something, but that's not something that people can as easily apply to like their actual care and everyday life.
You're right. Teeth do show up a lot more skull, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's yourself. Very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
So Michelle was our last presenter. We're gonna turn our score sheets in, and I think awards are gonna be, are they in the big auditorium, or is that for Sarah and